Hey there everybody, welcome back to my video treatment blog for Lyme disease and MS. This video is going to be a little bit different than the one that I had posted on my Facebook, which ran long. I tried to upload it to YouTube. It was too long. I have to re-record it, so I'll try to keep it short. This video is going to recap week number 6 of my treatment. And the biggest development was that I had another dark field microscopy done on my blood. When I first arrived at the clinic 6 weeks ago, it was one of the first things that they did was look at my blood under a microscope with dark field projection, and they were able to see my red blood cells were really dilapidated, and their ability to carry oxygen properly was hampered. You could also see the Lyme cysts actually in my blood cells, and you could see the Lyme spirochetes swimming around in my blood. They counted like 18 to 20 big, long spirochetes in my blood sample, and several smaller other spirochetes as well. And the difference between what I had done when I first arrived at the clinic and what I had done last week, the difference is night and day. My red blood cells are perfectly round with perfect cell structure, and they're no longer jam-packed and stacked on top of each other. And you can't see any Lyme cysts in my red blood cells. They were only able to count 4 Lyme spirochetes in my sample, and the spirochetes were very, very small. So it's proof positive that the treatment that I'm getting and what they're doing to me is really working. It's clearing out all the crud and crap and infection, and it's going to pave the way to making an environment for my body to heal. And I can already see certain things that are getting better, which is really great. I still have the same IV schedule, rotating between 2 different neurological support IVs. I get my glyoxyls every day. And as far as pushes go, back in an earlier video I talked about how the clinic cultures the mitochondrial DNA every week. Well, sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's weaker, and sometimes it can kind of play with your system a little bit differently, like it has done for me this week. The reactions that I'm getting are no longer the specific shake and bake type reaction. They're more of a creeping, achy, flu-like malaise. And my push on Monday was it lasted 16 hours. I mean, the reaction lasted 16 hours and bled over into the next day. So Tuesday I felt like I felt not too good on Tuesday. So I actually elected not to have a push Tuesday evening, which kind of gave me a little bit of a break. But I did push Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Wednesday and Thursday's reactions were similar. They just didn't last quite as long, and they weren't near as severe as they were on Monday. But when Friday's reaction rolled around, I actually had the largest dose I've ever had since being at the clinic on Friday, and my reaction was commensurate with that. Apparently, because of the way the culture was, it kind of really built up in my system over the course of 3 or 4 days. And my reaction on Friday was huge. I thought I was gonna come unglued. I was shaking so hard. And even though it only lasted about 35 minutes, followed up with a good 4-hour bake session, I must have pulled something in my back, because when I woke up Saturday, I really had really good back pain, and had to spend an hour and a half or so stretching it out and doing some exercises to try to get to feel a bit better. And took some anti-inflammatories and painkillers to try to deal with that. But I'm feeling much better now, which is good. Really not much else to report for week 6. So I kind of want to roll right into talking about low-dose naltrexone. Low-dose naltrexone, a little bit of history on the drug. This drug was created in the early 70s to help treat heroin addicts. And what it is it's an opiate antagonist. When you take it, it blocks the opiate receptors in your brain. So narcotics don't really have an effect, or they have a diminished effect. They actually, from what I understand, still use it in surgical rooms. The anesthesiologist will keep some naltrexone on hand in case he or she gives the patient too much anesthesia. They could administer naltrexone and sort of bring the patient out of the anesthetic state. Well, what they found in the 70s was that the drug really wasn't working very well for the addicts because it would, for a long time block the opiate receptors in the brain. The body's endorphins also bind to those receptors, and that's where you get your good feelings. You feel good, when you have endorphins. So basically, the drug was kind of turning the addicts into zombies because they were taking it at like 50 milligrams or higher. And so then you had patients, opting to take methadone and other different forms of treatment for their addiction. So the drug was kind of a flop. But there was a researcher in New York named Dr. Bahari who began researching using the drug in his autoimmune patients. But he was using it at a very, very low dose at night. And what he was finding was in his patients, they would end up with 2 to 3 times the amount of beta endorphins for the next day. And his theory was that when taking the drug at a very low dose for a very temporary period of time during the body's normal endorphin production cycle, which occurs when you're asleep at night, that the opiate receptors in the brain are only blocked for a very short period of time. And the body interprets this as, I'm not making enough endorphins, I need to make more. And so what you have is you have a greater reserve of endorphins for the next day. Now, during the next day, when you're working or you're working out or you're stressed or whatever, the body creates more. But we're talking about your overall reserve that's available to you for the course of the next day. And, through a mechanism that's not really understood, the beta endorphin helps control and regulate and modulate the immune system. And so what he was finding in his patients that had autoimmune illnesses was that low-dose naltrexone, actually helped them slow the progression of their illness. And in some patients, it actually put them in remission for whatever autoimmune problem they were having, whether it would be scleroderma or Crohn's disease or MS or Parkinson's or any number of other patients that he was seeing. I actually asked my neurologist, my first neurologist back about 18 months to 24 months ago, to prescribe this for me. And it's one of the ways that I discovered that I had Lyme disease, because when I first started taking it, I felt much, much better over the first 3 months, and then the following 3 months I began to feel a lot worse. And I was lucky enough to join a Yahoo News group for low-dose naltrexone, which has a lot of doctors and pharmacists and patients that are sharing their experiences with the drug with everyone. And I had someone write me to say that they were a doctor, and that my reaction to the drug is an indication that I had a systemic infection, bacterial infection or viral infection of some kind, and that it had stirred up my immune system and was, I was killing stuff off, and I was feeling much, much worse because of all the toxins that are created in a die-off. So for me, now that I take it, I feel that it helps me greatly. I can totally tell the difference between when I take it and when I don't take it. If I have 3 or 4 days go by that I don't take it, I begin to feel a lot worse physically, just in terms of the things that I could do when I'm on it, I can't do when I'm not on it. So, and I haven't really had much of a cold at all since I started taking the drug. There have been people that I've known that got sick, and it took them, a week and a half to get over what they had. and I was able to kind of get over the same thing within a day or two. So, it's certainly not going to hurt someone. All it's going to do is create more endorphins for the next day, and who doesn't want more endorphins? Using the drug, you want to ramp up. Okay, you want to start small, 1.5 milligrams for the first week, and then maybe up to 3.0 milligrams, and then up to the therapeutic dose as dictated by the Bahari protocol at 4.5 milligrams. And you take it at night between 9 and 12 in the evening, and it results in a better endorphin production for the next day. Now, I will state one caveat. When first beginning the drug, you will probably encounter some form of sleep disturbance for the first couple weeks that you're on it. Sometimes you may not get very good sleep. Sometimes you might find that you're waking up in the middle of the night going woo, and then you fall immediately back to sleep, or your dreams become very vivid. You might have very vivid dreams or very vivid nightmares, depending on what you normally get. But usually after about a couple weeks, all those things resolve, and then there's really no side effects at all except just feeling better the next day. If you have any questions on it, I know there's a whole lot of information out there. The best thing for you to do would be to go to Google and Google LDN or low dose naltrexone, and it should pull up a wealth of information on it. Even though all of the studies on it are kind of anecdotal, mainly because the drug cannot be patented, and so no pharmaceutical company is going to spend millions of dollars to have it trialed. There's still a lot of information out there. A lot of doctors, a lot of pharmacists, a lot of patients are using it. And if you need information on how to have it compounded, it needs to be compounded. I can recommend a really good pharmacy for you to do that. So Google it, take a look at it, go to www.lowdosenaltrexone.org to get all of the most current information on the drug. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and get it processed and uploaded to YouTube. And I'll record another video probably in 7 days. Till then, have a great week, and we'll see you later.